You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
And Miami gets eliminated. Oh, shit. This isn't good for the MLS. Like, you got Columbus out. At Cincinnati, which was the other contender to Miami, out. And then you have Miami and Messi out. Like, all interest worldwide, at least, completely goes away.
Yeah, I don't think he could have called it any better there. Guys, welcome to another episode of the Battered. Whoa, what am I doing? That was yesterday. Welcome to another episode of the Battered MLS Fans. I am your host, Chris Duran, and alongside me, I have three of the best of the fucking best to talk a little bit of MLS. I didn't mean to rhyme, but I guess it's go time. Episode 19. We'll go ahead and start from my bottom and then move all the way around. Justin Blair, what is going on, my friend?
Chris, I'm thinking you're like Dr. Seuss now, man. Like,
yeah,
you gotta keep spinning that stuff, man.
Yeah,
man. That's that Dade County vibe.
I do this in my sleep. I do this. I'm a poet, and I just don't know it. Todd the God, what's going on, my friend?
I'm so excited that I've been invited to the Losers Podcast. So
yes.
If you guys make the playoffs, we don't, but somehow I get the invite. So I guess I'm one of you guys. So thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah, you had 9 straight months of being the loser. So we'll take it. You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, this is absolutely the Losers MLS show podcast for the week. Ty, what is going on, my friend? How's everything going?
It's my birthday today, so that's fun.
Oh, happy motherfucking birthday, guys. Are you kidding me?
Nah, 28 today, man.
Nice.
So other than that, it's been a good day.
I'd play a clapping noise that I typically have, but that's on the. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. I can't find it anywhere. I'm sorry, I totally failed you. And you know what? Let's just do a small crowd boo.
That's crazy.
No. But happy birthday for real.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Ty. Another year on this planet. So, I mean, again, like I mentioned, this is the Losers Podcast, right? And we got a lot of losing to talk about, unfortunately. And Sean Callahan showing some love. Happy birthday, still so young. And then look at this guy just creeping here. Well. Tommy one time, like, get out of here. Go back into your cave. And then Danny Granada saying happy birthday
Danny.
and
18
Tommy one time. So yeah, I mean, what? And I mean, Justin, I see what you wrote in the freaking private chat here. I'm not gonna let you get away with this. Is it your birthday tomorrow too?
Tomorrow is my birthday.
Oh my goodness! What in the world?
I've had a few more trips around the sun than Ty, but not by much. Not by much. I'd like to say I'm turning 21 for the 14th year in a row. So let's go with that.
Solid.
That's amazing. I mean, well, this is great. This is great. We're starting off on such a good foot, but at the same time, now we got to talk about a bunch of losers. So, like, I'm not looking forward to that for sure. And speaking of losers, right? Top teams out, dude. Is everybody here okay with the playoff system? I mean, Jordi Alba talked a little bit about it at the end of the Inter Miami game, and we've had the top 3 teams on the East Coast drop off due to these multiple games in the first round. I guess I want to get a perspective of the person that really didn't have a dog in the race first. So, Todd, what's your perspective in this before we get biased opinions?
I mean, even when MLS announced it, when was it? Last year was the first year that they changed to this current format. Yeah, I thought it was a joke. I thought MLS finally had a playoff format the year prior in 2022. That made sense, but I get it. You bring Apple on board and MLS is like, well, we want everybody to get at least one home playoff game to generate money, blah, 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 blah. But it's like you saw all the comments in 2023 where they announced that they were changing the format and people were like, why? Like, you've changed the format so many times over the year in the history of this league. And you finally got something that was exciting. You were finally seeing what's the whole point of doing well in the regular season if you're going to go ahead and take away, games? It's like just play best of the best and go ahead and play single elimination. I thought MLS really had something special, and then they say, nah, we're in this partnership with Apple. Apple want more playoff games. It's going to generate more money. And then, we see what happens with Inter Miami, where they go ahead and, unfortunately, for your sake, Chris, and everybody that's in the comments, they lose to Atlanta. And you see so many teams. I think Orlando City, they were playing for penalties that whole series, and that's boring to me. I mean, who wants to see that? I mean, after the 90 minutes, you go straight to penalty kicks. That's not soccer. You go for it. But, each team has different ways how they want to approach these playoffs. And MLS, I think Don Garber would say, wow, our top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference are out of this. This is not what we anticipated. And then you lose into Miami. Oh, my God. I can't imagine what the playoff numbers are going to look like now going forward.
And so then I guess it's really not that far-fetched what Jordi Alba was saying in terms of just getting the best in the East to face the best in the West for whatever championship, the MLS Cup or whatever it is. Or maybe I don't know, maybe that can be made a 2 out of 3 when you have 2 of the best teams in the entire league. I'm going to jump over to you, Ty. What's your opinion on this? Are you okay with the way the playoff system is formatted at the moment, or is it?
I have no idea what you said because you cut out the last 2 seconds there. I mean, for me, the playoff system is a hit and miss, right? It's a hit because you see underdog teams like Atlanta absolutely knock out Miami, but then it's a miss because you see teams like Miami get ousted, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it can be good and bad. Me preferably, I like the home and away leg and aggregate scores. Because I feel those have a lot more grit in it, right? If a team is down and they go and the aggregate score is tied somehow, some way, then it goes to extra time. I like the nitty gritty of that. The teams that have to dig down deep and give it their all for another half hour. But I get what Todd's saying. The Apple wants to do numbers. So I mean, the more games you have, the more viewership you have, the more revenue you're going to generate. But I think with this year, again, I would love to see how the numbers are after conference semis.
It's so weird though, right? Because like when people mention aggregate, like as far as I'm aware, that doesn't really give one over the other a home advantage, right? Like I guess the way that it's structured now is to give the higher seed the home advantage. If you have it sort of in a 2-game aggregate, then there's really no sort of advantage, no?
Well, I would say there would be, because if you're an away team, you want to go ahead and get those away goals. Now, if you're not counting away goals, then maybe it doesn't matter. But at the same time, you still want to get as many goals. Look, that LA Galaxy versus Colorado Rapids game wouldn't have mattered. I mean, 5-0, I think the first game was. If we done aggregate, it's like Colorado's not coming back from a 5-0 deficit. So just play the best of the best, 1-game single elimination, and we don't have to have this conversation at all.
But then it just makes it less American, right? I mean, I think that's kind of what a lot of people appreciate. Like Danny and I think we're part of the minority when we say that we like this system in terms of like, this is as American gets. Like the underdogs have the chance. Unfortunately, a lot of our teams just happen to be at the short end of the stick in that scenario. I mean, Justin, what do you consider in terms of how this playoff format is set up? Is it something that needs to be changed or what?
Oh, it 100% needs to be changed. If I could go to your comment about it being the underdog story and stuff, that's what the Open Cup is for.
Yeah.
This is to declare a champion of top flight in America. So, like, just going back to one of the original reasons why they changed the playoff format was you had a series of years where you had the top teams from each conference losing early in the first round, right? So they decided to give it 3-game series to kind of mitigate that, to kind of give a little bit of air. Well, it ain't working. Going back to it, like 2019, you had New York City losing in the first round. In 2020, you had Philadelphia bouncing out in the first round. You had number 1 and number 2 in the Supporters Shield standings in 2021 bounce from New England and Colorado. But in the past 2 seasons, you now have had St. Louis, who was, second place in the Supporters Shield standings all of 2023. We all knew that was a paper tiger, but that was a pretty embarrassing look for the MLS. And then you go into this year and you're losing Miami right off the bat, and obviously that has additional complications. I'm not completely against playoffs. I have said several times, I personally am not a fan of playoffs. I think that if you can get schedule fairness, which I don't think any league can get schedule fairness, but if there's a way to get schedule fairness, then I don't think that you should be doing playoffs. But in our current system, I think we should minimize the amount of teams that come in, whether that's 8 teams or 6 teams. I kind of agree that a more condensed playoff format is something I would enjoy. I don't care to watch Nashville or Charlotte or hop over to the other side. When Sporting Kansas City beat St. Louis last year, I mean, that was fun for a night. It was fun for 2 nights.
Yeah.
But then we all moved on, and we knew they were going to get upset the next round. So it's just nonsense. It's not much entertainment. I think the aggregate system is an interesting one. Maybe introduce that, but at least minimize this down from, instead of having, it's been probably echoed 1,000 times, but more than half of your league gets in the playoffs, you're doing things wrong.
Well, and that's the worst part, is that you literally have the opportunity of just 9 of the teams on each side being able to join for the most coveted trophy in the league, right? Like at this very moment, Atlanta is quite possibly going to be able to win this trophy at the 9th seed. That's unbelievable. Like I don't think I can find another word other than unbelievable, right? Just
it like, if you just put the tag competition on there, this is declaring the champion. Like that should have a lot more weight than just putting a bunch of teams in to make it more entertaining. Like, this is who you believe is going to be historically looked on as the best team that year, not the team that got hot in 5 games and went on a run. I think it's stupid.
Well, I guess to sort of jump to the, I want to jump to the next point, right to piggyback off of that. Philly had a hell of a sort of run. I mean, somewhat towards the end, and then all of a sudden, what the hell happened with Jim Curtin? Like, now he's a goner.
Yeah, I think, and I'm still shocked. Union fans are shocked, but I think not only them, the whole MLS world was shocked. I mean, Jeff Carlisle with ESPN has a fantastic article out. Tom Burgett with Give Me Sports has a fantastic article out with a whole bunch of sourcing from people within the club, outside the club. And yeah, I mean, to see Jim Curtin out, and a guy who had been with the organization for 11 seasons, they've missed the playoffs for the first time since 2017. Him and Ernst Tanner had worked together for 6 seasons. Ernst Tanner joined midway through the 2018 season. Well, more than midway, in August or September that year, and officially started working full time in 2019 with the club. But I think the way I'll approach this first is, we all know this, whether it be soccer internationally or just any sports. Anytime you bring in a new sporting director, they always bring in their guy. And so when I saw Ernst Tanner was announced as a sporting director, replacing Ernie Stewart, who had went with the U.S. men's national team, part of me was expecting that Ernst Tanner was going to bring in his own manager, but it was announced that him and Jim Curtin were going to work together. Jim Curtin had led the Union to the playoffs. They won their first playoff game in 2019. They've been a club since 2010, and they beat New York Red Bulls in the playoffs 4-3. And Ernst Tanner liked what he saw. The Union got rid of their possession style soccer, playing the 4-2-3-1 to a 4-4-2 diamond, high press, Gegenpress, German style of soccer. And it was successful in 2019. And so Ernst Tanner gave Jim Curtin a year extension. Going to Justin's point, where the Union got knocked out the following season after winning the Supporters Shield, they lose to New England. And remember, that's the COVID year where everybody's playing each other. It seemed like 5 times that season. And the Union have to play New England and unfortunately lose the very first game in the playoffs. In the following season, the Union, I believe, get 2 playoff wins. They go all the way to the Eastern Conference Final, lose to New York City because half their squad got COVID. And I think 2021 was a real legitimate shot the Union had of winning MLS Cup. That wasn't a good Portland Timbers team. That wasn't a great New York City team. And the Union were actually winning that game against New York City 1-0, and they gave up 2 late goals in that game. 2022, they finally make it to MLS Cup. The players said, we want to run this back. Jim Curtin wanted to run it back with the same players in 2023. Yeah, they unfortunately lose to FC Cincinnati. A little bit of a controversial call, the club would tell you. And then 2024, the wheels completely came off. And I've said this so many times on my podcasts where you cannot run the same squad back for 3-4 seasons. It just doesn't work that way in MLS. You're eventually going to get caught up. And with the Union wanting to play this high press system, it unfortunately, I think a lot of these players are just kind of worn out. And Jim Curtin went away with playing such a high press system. And Ernst Tanner met with the media, as did Jay Sugarman, the owner of the club. And Ernst Tanner said, look, that's part of the reason we got rid of Jim Curtin. We got away from our style of high pressing. But I think that's Jim Curtin looking at the situation and saying, look, we cannot play high press with the players that we have here, because they just don't have the legs. They don't have the stamina to play that style anymore. And a player like Jack McGlynn, who I think is fantastic, and he's going to be in Europe sooner than later, he doesn't fit the 4-4-2 system. He has so many defensive liabilities, but, he's a talented player, and the Union put him out there, but he's not going to press like a Leon Flock or a Brendan Aronson when he was here at this club. And so Jim Curtin took it upon himself, how do I bring out the best of my players? The Union's roster, I want to point out the last couple of transfer windows, and this is what upsets Philadelphia Union fans, because it's not been great transfers since the summer of 2022. Abasa,
no big chances.
Yeah, exactly. They bring in Abasa, a young Ghanaian center back. He's not at the club anymore. Richard Odada from Kenya, not at the club anymore. Joaquin Torres, they brought in from CF Montreal. They loaned him out this season, to be determined if he comes back next year. Andres Pereira, the Union wind up loaning him to New York City and then selling him to New York City. Damian Lowe, no longer at the club. Inter Miami fans, they were happy to see Damian leave and go to the Philadelphia Union. I think Damian was a valuable player.
Pretty good for you guys.
To rely on him to start week in, week out, it's not going to work. But a spot start, I think he does a job. Ty Baribo, okay, he didn't play in 2023. 2024, in the second half of the season, fantastic. I'll get back to Ty Baribo here in a second. Alawetu Makanya, a U22 signing for the Union, the only U22 signing that the Union have on the roster, and he can't break into the first team. The Union were playing Nathan Harriel when they needed a third center back. As a center back, Makanya is a center back, and that tells you everything you need to know if he couldn't get over a right back into the starting 11. Marcus Anderson, he's shown glimpse with the second team. He had a great playoff with Union 2, but injuries have killed his season. Sanders Ngabo, not at the club anymore. He was brought in this past January. Oliver Zemla, really, really shaky in net, filling in for Andre Blake this season. Sam Adeniran, he's gone. I don't expect him to be back. And then Dalen John Jock, to be determined. But Ty Baribo, and some people point to, okay, that also cost Jim Curtin his job because of the second half of the season that he had. But Jim Curtin did not play Ty last season and at parts of this season because of his training habits. And if I'm Jim Curtin, you're with these players every single day in practice. Why would I want to reward a player that's half-assing it in practice?
And you see it firsthand.
What kind of message does that send to the rest of the squad that, hey, look, I can half-ass it and still get rewarded with playing time? Absolutely not. And so I don't blame Jim Curtin for throwing down the hammer and making this guy earn his minutes. And Jim Curtin would tell us in the media that yes, he's earning his minutes. He's doing better and better in practice. And let's not forget, the Union had Julian Carranza. You're not playing Ty Baribo over Julian Carranza. And trying to play Ty Baribo and Julian together, I don't think they're too similar in their play styles. I don't think that would have worked out, but some people would argue, well, you don't know that because you didn't try it. All those players I just mentioned, majority of those are bust. And you look at players when Ernst Tanner was with Salzburg, where you can just include the whole Red Bull system. Naby Keita, he bought him for $1.5 million. Patson Daka, $250,000. Upakanya, $2.3 million. The center back that's with Bayern Munich. Sadio Mane, he bought him for $4.2 million. He's had hits, but the last couple transfers with the Union, he hasn't hit. And Philadelphia Union fans are upset saying, look, if Ernst Tanner, he's been productive in the past with Hoffenheim, with 1860 Munich, with Salzburg. Those clubs gave Ernst Tanner money. If Jay Sugarman, the owner for the Union, can give him money to go out here and get these type of players, then we have faith. But that's not been the case. And again, I gave you guys the examples, the last transfer windows from 2022 of the summer. They've all pretty much been misses. And the fans would say, well, that's because Jay Sugarman's not giving Ernst Tanner money.
Cheap.
But, yeah, exactly. But Ernst Tanner comes out here in the press conference and says, we're all about development. Jim Curtin didn't play the youth, and we wanted more homegrowns to play. But that's a lie. Nathan Harriel, Quinn Sullivan, and Jack McGlynn, those guys were in the top 4 for Quinn Sullivan in minutes played this season for the Union, 6 for Jack McGlynn, 7 from Nathan Harriel. The Union led MLS in homegrown minutes played. They also got Andrew Rick, a goalkeeper, in the net this season for the Union. Jeremy Raffanello, CJ Olney, Kevin Sullivan, as one of the comments mentioned. Jim Curtin played the homegrowns this season. But unfortunately for him, Ernst Tanner didn't think that was enough. I mean, how can you say you don't play the youth, but you led the league in homegrown minutes? It makes no sense to me. And the one word sitting there at Monday's press conference that kept coming to my mind is there's a huge disconnect in the whole entire Philadelphia Union organization, from the PR department to Ernst Tanner, where it was asked to Ernst Tanner to talk about a hiring, the director of scouting, and Ernst Tanner said, no, we announced that. The PR staff even doubled down and said, no, we announced that. That's a lie. They did not. The only person that announced that was Jose Nunez, who does a fantastic job covering the team, but they doubled down and said, yeah, we announced this. There's a huge disconnect, and it's not up to Ernst Tanner to know what hirings are announced or not. That's up to the PR staff. But to be up there and to say, we announced this, and you turn to the PR staff and they say, yeah, we announced that. That's a lie. How don't you know that? I mean, that's something so simple, but yet here we are talking about something so simple. And it's like, you hear players saying Ernst Tanner's not a great communicator. Ernst Tanner saying him and Jim Curtin, they weren't aligned. And so, yeah, the big concern right now for the Philadelphia Union from the top bottom, complete disconnect. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and Jose Nunez,
I am upset.
I mean, he totally has a reason to be. I mean, just ask. Let's ask Todd, Jose. I saw Kyle in the chat. How much money Philadelphia Union got from Feyenoord?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons too that Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin did not work out. $0 for Julian Carranza. He left on a free.
Julian Carranza.
$0. Olympiacos offered $7 million last year for Julian Carranza. Ernst Tanner turned that down, and he allowed the player to go.
What a bad one!
And what I had heard, that the relationship between Ernst Tanner and Julian Carranza went completely sour, and so that for one of your star players, your biggest star player at the club, for that relationship to go sour, you turn down multiple transfers for him, a player that didn't throw a fit in the media and just kept his mouth shut, gave his all to the club, and then eventually you just start shutting him out towards the end of it and say, you know what, go to Feyenoord, get nothing for him. I mean, it's ridiculous. And you see the reports from Jeff Carlisle, Tom Bogert, saying that the relationship had been sour between Ernst Tanner and Jim Curtin for 12 to 18 months. That's not a healthy work environment.
Well, and it's funny because Danny, doing the watch along with Scarves and Spikes for the Inter Miami and Atlanta game, he asked them if they'd be willing to take Jim Curtin, and they're like, yeah, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's other teams that are like clamoring for him. Ty, you had a point that you wanted to make.
I was gonna say I hear Eric Ten Hag is available, so if Philly fans want Ten Hag ball, there's your guy.
It's gonna be somebody that Jim Curtin actually Ernst
Well,
Tanner
that's a good question though, Todd. Like who?
Somebody with MLS experience. Somebody with MLS experience. They said.
Well, that's a good question, Todd. Like, is there anybody sort of in the pipeline that Philadelphia is sort of considering here, or is that something that Philadelphia is not really looking into at this moment?
I don't think anybody has a clue. I think some Union fans would like to see Marlon LeBlanc, the Union 2 second team coach, who took Union 2 to the MLS Next Pro Cup against North Texas, lose that game 3-2. They were up 2-0. And so Marlon and Jim Curtin have something in common where they both lose finals. But no, I can't see a world where the Union go ahead and fire Jim Curtin, a manager that won you your first title, the MLS Supporters Shield, took you to MLS Cup, it's taken you to 3 U.S. Open Cup finals. It's been a fantastic ambassador for this season. I can't see them turning to Marlon LeBlanc. I can see, honestly, somebody that Ernst Tanner's worked with in the past in Germany, and he did say that he wants a manager that has MLS experience. Well, what about Sandro, not Schwartz, Gerhard Struber, who used to be with New York Red Bulls. He's Austrian, I believe it is, knows how to play the 4-4-2 diamond formation, and that could be somebody. Bradley Cornell with St. Louis, another guy who came from Red Bulls. So, I don't think anybody has a clue, just like all these players at the beginning I mentioned. Half of your listeners, more than half of your listeners, have no clue who these guys are. People in Philadelphia didn't even hear who these players
were. You'd be surprised.
When they came here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would. I wouldn't even try to guess who Ernst Tanner's going to go out there. And
I'll tell you who I would go after. I would go after Diego Torres.
Diego Torres.
At Orlando. I mean, Perea has pretty much like given him all match day delegation, and Perea has a great system. He'll consistently be one of the top teams in the East. I would take a chance on Diego Torres if you're looking. Which, I mean, Philadelphia unfortunately has that. You just highlighted all of it.
Sorry,
that history of being cheap. So Diego Torres is a first-time head coach in MLS. He has plenty of MLS experience. Go after him.
I think what Soccer Daddy said. Why is MLS experience necessary though? Because I feel like, if you have a coach that has MLS experience, that's kind of a up because you know how the league is run. But I feel like it's kind of just mainstream to have somebody who's been around MLS for so long. Why not venture off into the land unknown and go for a coach that has more significant experience in top flight football than somebody who's been around MLS for 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, and I do think that's ultimately what Ernst Tanner does. I think it was just lip service to the media that he was giving. But what about Dominic Kreiner? You guys, Cincinnati took a lot of managers and players from us. Why don't we go and poach one of you guys?
Yeah, go get Dom Kinnear. He has MLS Cup. I mean, he won MLS Cup. He has experience, but I think he's perfectly happy playing second fiddle at FC Cincinnati.
Well, it's a weird place because then, like, at some point, Phil Neville might be like a journeyman through the MLS. You know what I mean? Like, he might be a person that's
Phil Neville to Philadelphia. Let's do it. Run it back.
That wouldn't surprise me, to be perfectly honest. I don't think he did that bad with Portland, but Danny, I think he seems to disagree with me.
I heard Caleb Porter's looking for a job, right, Ty?
I mean, heck, if Caleb Porter's looking for one, I wouldn't be surprised if soon Tata Martino's looking for one also.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at Jose Nunez is mentioning. I guess Tata has lost it, losing to Atlanta. Listen, that was a huge conversation that we had yesterday on whether Tata should be on the hook for this or not. We'll get to that in a little bit. But
did you take Jim Curtin down in Miami?
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't mind it, but he can't talk a lick of Spanish. So the team that we have right now would not work in any way, shape, or form for him.
There's a little bit.
Yeah, okay. We could do some of the basics.
I think Jim is going to Columbus, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Don't say that. Do
It's,
not
it's
say
happening,
that.
Ty. It's
Don't
happening,
say
Ty.
that.
I
Well,
mean, I
let's-
would be happy if I were you, Ty. I mean, yeah, it
Well-
would suck to lose Nance, but you're bringing in an experienced MLS manager who,
Yeah.
look, I mean, got the most out of his players with an owner that didn't spend. And now you go to a club like Columbus where, yeah, they don't have a problem spending. And I've said it before that Columbus is exactly what the Philadelphia Union should be. And Jim Curtin, I'm sure, would not mind going to Columbus.
I just don't want this era to end just yet.
Okay, I mean,
I'm still happy.
well, let's stick to up north right there in Ohio. Just talking about you guys, right? With Cincy and Columbus also taking a spanking, like how we did in the first round. How come you guys lost? And I guess just getting to what Todd was mentioning and what Justin just said in terms of like interest, what changes are coming. I guess I'll start with you, Ty, because you guys unfortunately didn't win a game in the series. So it's something I do have to mention. I do have to put that out there. I think it's fair, but unfortunately, you guys were one of the first teams that were knocked out. Like, what the hell happened? And like, are there any drastic changes coming down the pike for you guys?
I mean, to be fair, the Red Bulls under Sandro Schwartz has always been a tough team to play. It's just like
Super
New York
annoying.
City, right?
worst.
So I think what it is that all the games that we have played, I think it just kind of caught up to us at the wrong time. Let's also mention that Rudy Camacho has not been the same Rudy Camacho as he was after the Miami loss in regular season. I feel like his form just kind of took a nosedive. That is
Mr. Krabs out here
no,
sending shots.
I don't think so because he just signed a contract extension last year. But Rudy Camacho, his performance kind of took a nosedive after that Miami loss. Our back line as a whole kind of their performance kind of took a nosedive. And then it also doesn't help that when you have a defensive performance like that, that's kind of hit or miss. You get a Red Bulls team that is on the up and up with Emil Forsberg, Lewis Morgan, Dante Van Zier, and Carlos Cornell, who absolutely stood on his head throughout the entire series, both games, even in the penalty kicks in game 2. You get a team like that who hasn't missed the playoffs in I think it's 15 years. I want to say they're good. We caught them on their best days, and it hurt us. Am I mad? Kind of, because I really wanted that title defense. I really wanted to come down to Miami and see you guys and watch us lift the Eastern Conference trophy on your guys' pitch. But
oh my goodness.
At the same time, I can't be mad at the season that we had. It's not a failure. It ended with a trophy. Is it a trophy? No, but it's a trophy. It's another piece of hardware in the cabinet, right? So it's not a failure. And Crew fans are saying, yeah, it's a failure because we didn't do this, we didn't do that. Cry me a river, guys, honestly. And then as far as the changes come, we've already had Alex Matan announce on Instagram today he's leaving the club. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Yao Yeboah leave the club. I wouldn't be surprised if Christian Ramirez has his option declined also. So
it's a little bit of restructuring there.
Yeah, I think so, but I think it's more so of these guys have played their part with Columbus. Maybe it's time for them to take on new challenges instead of kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Let them go venture off and continue to grow their skill at maybe a higher level, right? So Alex Matan is the only confirmed one that we know of so far, but I do expect more roster changes to come within the coming days.
Yeah, go ahead, Todd.
It's what Philly should have done, not run it back. I mean, it's a smart thing to do. It's like you get the most out of those players and then you move on. And, if somebody wants to ever spend for them, then so be it. It's like, don't keep running the same squad back into the ground. It's not going to work out. But I was going to say, Ty, Wilfred Nance has to be coach of the year, right?
I stand by that. Yeah, I mean, he has taken what Caleb Porter has tried to do the last 3-4 years that he was in Columbus, and has done it way better than Porter ever did. I'm not saying Caleb Porter was a bad coach. He wasn't a bad coach. However, he was too predictable, right? It was the same system every time. He was playing. He
Yeah,
was
Jose Nunez, this was perfect. Acceptance. Ty is on that stage of grief after MLS exit.
He kept playing the same guys. He would play players out of position and try and make something happen. It wouldn't work. However, with Wilfried Nancy, he has a different philosophy than, say, Caleb Porter, right? Because he grew up in a France town that was big on football, right? He's told us plenty of times I think he stopped playing at 17 and started looking at coaching throughout his time when he was with different clubs and whatnot. So his IQ of football is 10 miles better than, I'd say, Caleb Porter, than Greg Berhalter, Jaap Stam. I'm sorry, Justin, Pat Noonan, even also, right? But it's just when you guys hear his press conference and how he talks about how he looks at football, it's miles better. And that's how we've been so successful these last 2 years. And I'm hoping for a third year.
And Justin, what's your perspective in terms of like how the season ended for Columbus? I guess before we jump over to Cincy.
Yeah, for me, I think it was hugely disappointing. I mean, you had the comments from like Tortal Martino saying that, it's like they dropped Columbus from like outer space into the MLS. They're that good, and then for them to peter out and let's be honest, New York Red Bulls is one of those teams that it's always going to be tough matchup, no matter who's in charge, what players are there. It's just a culture in New York Red Bulls that will stand the test of time. So, but I am shocked that they lost back to back against them. I know we were enjoying that for a couple nights, maybe a week, but for me, Wilfried Nancy has to win Coach of the Year if I can deviate to that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, this is now 3 years in a row where Wilfried Nancy has been one of the best coaches in MLS. I mean, going back to his time at CF Montreal, had them in second place in the East, jump ship, goes to Columbus, immediately takes a non-playoff team to winning the league the next year. I mean, Nancy has to be considered the best coach in MLS. So I take no grievance to him saying that he's better than Pat Noonan. But for me, I think it was hugely disappointing. I think that Nancy didn't check any of the boxes he wanted. Nancy's primary focus was consistency, and he never saw that from his best players all the way down through.
And I mean, I don't know if you had a point there, Todd. I thought that I thought that you went off mute for a couple seconds earlier, but I mean, the thing about it is that it's wild in terms of the outcome, because I really thought that Columbus would have given him more trouble, even at the game when they played in New Jersey. I thought to myself, Columbus was going to have that in hand. The fact that it went to penalties, I said, oh no, this is no bueno for Columbus. This is kind of the worst. At least that's what I expected. As far as like Cincinnati's concerned, though, Justin, like you guys had competitive, I guess, third game all the way to penalties. Yeah. And that was actually a very entertaining sort of, penalty round. What the hell happened there? I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with Lucho, and maybe you have a little bit more to elaborate on that in terms of like how the hell everything kind of went down with that team.
Sure. Well, just going back to NYCFC, they're one of those teams that are in their transition and caught a little magic, right? They completely kind of cleared house and tried to go a different approach, and they've hit some huge studs. Martins is one of the best defenders in the league.
Yeah.
But they were clearly playing for a tie or a draw, trying to get it to go to penalties. And unfortunately, FC Cincinnati consistently this year weren't able to bag in goals like they have been the past 2 seasons. When you have 5 guys who are playing forward, 5 designated forwards sitting on your bench watching a left back and a midfielder play up top, that's not where you want to be. And that's probably part of Lucho's frustration. To tie into that, I think that Lucho, it's difficult to say. I mean, there's rumors all over the place. I don't play into rumors a lot, but I will say that Lucho has lost a little bit of that fire in his eyes, right? Something happened this year. I don't know if it was the injury. I don't know if it was something to do with the front office. I don't know if it was something to do with his family. Something happened where Lucho just lost his appetite, right? And I'm not saying that excuses his performance, but
something affected him at some
when
point.
I was standing there in the locker room listening to, and I really didn't want to be there. I was like, okay, we're gonna hear some regurgitated quotes, but I'm sitting there listening. I'm like, wait, is he saying what he's saying? That he's I'm not sure if he's coming back to the club. And he even joked about it. He said, I'm sure you guys are shocked. Like, yeah. I think one of the best writers probably in all of MLS, I think several people can vouch for him, Pat Brennan at the Cincinnati Enquirer, he actually left the locker room. I've never seen that in my life. He left the locker room to run upstairs to get out an article about Lucho before he even did his post. I mean, it was crazy. And some players today, they did their postseason interviews and stuff like that, and a lot of players say, Lucho's obviously we see it on the pitch, he's a very emotional person, right? But this feels different, right? I was standing there in the locker room, and you're looking around at the faces, and the only ones that seem shocked are the reporters. That usually tells you that there might be
that's
a
very
little
telling.
Yeah, Lucho obviously is heavily leans into his native Spanish language. So when he's got a translator, and the translator, it almost seemed like there was no blush there. Like he's just reading it out like, oh, this is what's happening, and then we're leaving. And I did see an interesting exchange by a former Philadelphia Union person in regards to his comments about not official comments, but it was definitely an air of confidence, right? So it wasn't oh, what, or oh, I know it's tough that we're going to replace Lucho, but he seems pretty optimistic about the future. So it was just wild. Like you completely forgot that we were just playing a playoff game, and we just got eliminated by a really good New York City FC team that deserves the credit for taking that series. But you just completely got lost in that moment. And today, Lucho Acosta ends up, I think Jose was able to elaborate this on X earlier today. But Lucho, we were sitting there waiting. This is like a 5-hour, session of getting the end of the season interviews. And then it just abruptly ends. And they inform us that Lucho has a prior engagement, and he's going to have to miss his interview. And it's like, okay, this is getting really real. Like I already felt like leaving the stadium on Saturday that Lucho was gone. I definitely think Lucho's gone now.
Well,
Isatal has the ability to do the most hilarious thing ever. Sorry.
I was going to say,
that?
No, you're
Justin, when you look at the fan base last year, they lose Alvaro Barrial, and there was a huge miss for the club. They go out and get Orishano, But then if you lose Acosta, I mean that's 2 huge players gone in back-to-back seasons, and I
Crippling.
think when you look at this,
Three seasons.
yeah,
3 seasons. Never replace Brenner. Never replace Brandon Vasquez.
and that's what I was going to say. It's like the biggest thing missing for the Cincinnati squad this year was a striker, and it's a little bit surprising to me. They go out and get Kelsey, who I thought at moment showed his brilliance, and I'm like, this could be a really, really genius signing, and then you guys just were never able to replace Brenner or Vasquez. And do you think that the team feels any confidence? I know you guys have, well, Tom Berger reported that you guys are signing a new striker from Belgium, I believe it is. I forget the name, my apologies. But do you think that gives the fan base confidence? Look, you got a new striker already, but you're potentially losing your biggest playmaker in Acosta.
I think everybody's going to be a little bit gutted that Lucho's not here. I think people that have survived the storms of the wooden spoon seasons can remember that Lucho Acosta was on the roster in 2021. And if you're watching the games, the fan base, it's going to be gutting, right? Lucho, obviously, #1 jersey. Everybody in town knows who Lucho Acosta is. You know, he is literally the Joe Burrow of the soccer side. So it's difficult to replace that, right? But if you're talking about from a technical and tactical standpoint, you know, Chris Albright didn't bring Lucho Acosta in. Pat Noonan didn't bring Lucho Acosta in. Lucho Acosta was here, and they've done nothing but for 2.5 seasons filled this roster out to complement Lucho Acosta. So you're at a point right now where you could really kind of turn the page and maybe interject your vision into this team. I mean, it's worked, right? MVP season, supporter shield season. Lucho Acosta deserves all the flowers he's ever gotten. But like, I think that there might be some relief on both sides of the fence here.
It's got to be such an awful place to sit in, though, right? Because like, in terms of Columbus and Miami, right? We're still going to stay somewhat intact in terms of some of the core players, but you guys, on the other hand, are like completely, from what it looks like, in shambles, right? Like you guys went from losing 3 great players over 3 years, and then now it seems like it's going to be like this whole rebuilding deal.
And it has just been that way repetitively. Remember, we had, I don't want to go all the way through, but some people that have been watching MLS for quite a while would recognize a name like Ronald Margarita. Some people would recognize names that has played for FC Cincinnati, like Junior Moreno last year was a huge contributor for our team, played every single game. He left last season. You talked about Barriel. You talked about Brandon Vasquez. Obviously, we had Matt Miazga injured the entire season. So it's been in a situation where Cincinnati has dealt with transition, right? And maybe at some point you can put concrete down and start building something that is yours now.
Now, I want to go over a comment here because Mr. Krabs has thrown 2 comments so far. This is sadder than my grandfather's funeral.
Gosh.
Right? And then then says, this is the saddest episode of Battered MLS fans. Mr. Krabs, I don't know if you've been able to tell the pattern here, but this is the episode of the losers. Okay? So, unfortunately, you're not going to get your winners here. If you want that, you're going to have to wait for next week, where we'll have crappy scarves and spikes and what is this Orlando Lions Den podcast? Like, get out of here, okay? You want to come see those guys?
Great.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Lions Den is good. Alex is good people.
Yeah, they're really good.
Make sure you get Tyler and not
Tommy.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
He's been on the show enough. No more Tommy.
Yeah. He has. He's already overstayed his welcome. Danny is absolutely he's absolutely scared of him no matter what he says. And then on top of that, I just found out that Tommy actually doesn't like to eat at Waffle House, supposedly, allegedly.
That guy, lame.
That's absurd.
Yeah, it is super absurd. And then the worst part is, I just found out when I was watching the watch along, Danny puts ketchup on his fucking hash browns like a fucking weirdo. I don't know if you guys do that, but like that to me is unacceptable.
Well, it's a toss up between ketchup and hot sauce. So
hey,
Okay,
ketchup's
hot sauce
good on
is-
hash browns.
But like ketchup is a.
I'm not gonna let you smear ketchup on hash browns. You're not
But,
getting away
okay,
with
but
that.
you're hold on. We're gonna have to save that until the end because like we're
No,
already
we can't say that to the end.
No, we're gonna save that, and I have something
Go
else
for
that
it.
we're saving until the end. It's a fresh one.
Jesus.
I want to talk about the last but not least, Inter Miami. Unfortunately, we took a slacking by the 9th seed Atlanta, and it wasn't good. I was there live. It felt awful. And one of the things I want to mention is in the beginning of the episode, I put up a clip of Danny when he was watching the game live, and he had mentioned how MLS wants to sort of stretch their arms internationally and start getting fans. Hold on, Tank. This is unacceptable. I'm sorry. This is super unacceptable. I had to stop myself from talking, and Dennis, you're on point right there. Now, as far as getting back on point, right? MLS wanted to sort of stretch their arms in order to be able to get a grander audience internationally. And obviously, I think at this point, you guys would agree with me, right? That if you want to get more eyes, right, regardless of what team you're interested in, whatever bias is, I feel like Inter Miami getting further in the playoffs would have assisted with that, right, Todd?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Apple will never release the amount of viewers that they get. I'd be shocked if we ever get those numbers. But like I said at the beginning of the show, I wouldn't be surprised if playoff numbers now go just straight down. Like nobody cares internationally.
It's gonna be
No
embarrassing.
Inter Miami, no Messi. They're not going to tune in. I mean, half of your listeners, I'm sure, aren't going to be watching playoffs anymore.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They all said it. They're half of them already told Danny and I, see you in February. It's like, oh, great, buddy. See you in February then. Ty, I mean, do you agree that regardless, having Inter Miami involved in the playoffs would have been able to help the MLS from a grander scheme capture more of an international audience?
Oh, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
Granted, this is the out answer, but look at who you have. Yeah, of course, that's gonna if you guys were to advance, it's going to help numbers. It's going to help the league grow more and more. Now that they're not playing anymore, I mean, who wants to watch Atlanta United go all the way when you have LAFC, and who even knows about LAFC because they don't. All they have is Olivier Giroud and Olivier
look
Giroud
at
and
Soccer
Hugo
Daddy.
Lloris.
Soccer Daddy already canceled their subscription immediately after Inter Miami lost.
Yeah,
and
I mean, who wants to watch it anymore? I mean, I'm gonna watch it just because I want the laws, but still.
Yeah, and I love. Look, like I said, without any sort of biasness, I do love the playoffs. In terms of like the playoff format, I think the 3-game series deal was garbage because I don't think it should work that way. Cincinnati would be in the playoffs at this very moment. I mean, unfortunately, Columbus wouldn't have been in the playoffs, but I think that knowing that it would have been a 1-game off, Columbus probably would have played better. Maybe. I think that that's kind of the sucky thing when you know that it's a 3-game series, that you can kind of, you could take it easier or whatever the case is. Maybe I'm just like sort of downscaling it because competitors are competitive, right? Justin, I mean, you agree just in the point that I made that having Inter Miami involved in the playoffs would have been able to help MLS. They're gonna plummet, right?
Yeah, I mean, no question. But I will say this: that before Messi got here, who were they preaching to us was the biggest eyes, the biggest draw to the international market, right? They were telling us LAFC, they were telling us LA Galaxy, they were telling us New York City FC. They were telling us Atlanta United. These were all the biggest markets. These were going to be the biggest things since sliced bread. So it's kind of put up or shut up time now.
Well, and the funny thing is like Atlanta is in a place where like internationally, for some reason, they're very recognized, but then like nationally, people also recognize them, very well. And then, I mean, Atlanta being able to beat Inter Miami has more eyes on them than ever. I mean, Guzan ended up playing the games of his life. I don't think I've ever seen him perform as a goalkeeper better than I did in these last 3 games. No,
Certainly not at Villa. Definitely not at Villa. He did not perform like that.
Yeah, this could arguably be his best form he's been in his career, and he's 40 years old, close to 40. It's all started 2 months ago. I mean, against the Philadelphia Union, he had 7 or 8 saves in that game, and it's like, great. The Union aren't making the playoffs. This guy is playing on another level, and he's absolutely carried Atlanta United on his back. And now, just like the Union, Inter Miami got to catch the wrath of Brad Guzan.
Now I have a question for you guys, because this is a big fight in the Inter Miami realm, because obviously Tata Martino has a very great player that he is managing named Messi, and a lot of the fan base is very half and half, hot and cold with Tata. A lot of people are on the fire Tata Martino bandwagon. So we got a lot of people Tata in or Tata out. And I kind of want to get your guys' opinion. I'll start off with you, Justin. Looking at everything that's happened with Inter Miami and Tata having the reputation that he's had and whatnot, do you think that it's fair to say Tata should be out, or no, it's a little ridiculous to say something like that?
I think it's ridiculous. I think he clearly has no excuse and has to answer for his performance in major matches post Atlanta United. But Tata, what he did this season, I mean, if Wilfred Nancy wasn't in the league, he would definitely get my vote for. I mean, he still had Jordi Alba, he still had Busquets, but what he did was unbelievable when Messi was out of town. I mean, to put that much pressure, and you're still getting,
That's a good point.
relatively packed stadiums. And what I love about Tata is Tata tries things. I mean, you may hate what he tries, and it may not work, but Tata tries different things. And
Yeah.
I just enjoy that for somebody that's been managing this game for so long, to be able to consistently try different variables. And it's going to ultimately, post Messi, Tata will be a great ambassador for Inter Miami if they, can hang on to him.
And apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, allegedly Marasovic is saying Scotland's national animal is the unicorn.
I think that is an actual fact.
I believe it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right. Okay. There goes your Snapple fact, guys. Ty, what do you think? What do you think about that? You think Tata out, or you think Tata's fine?
Nah, he's fine. I think it's just an overreaction. You have all eyes on Miami. Obviously, they were the front runner to win MLS Cup this year, and to go out like that, yeah, it hurts. I mean, hell, we went out in 2 games, but you guys went out in 3 games. It hurts, but it's an overreaction. He's done really well with Miami.
Yeah.
I think you guys won a trophy last year. It's fine. I think one of the comments was Mr. Krabs. He has to you guys play down to your competition.
Yes.
And I think Justin said it perfectly. He has to answer for that, but he's fine. He knows what he's doing. He knows that he needs to get back in the office. During the off season, fix what needs to be fixed. I think you guys are fine. You guys are come back stronger next year.
And one thing I want to also mention, because there's going to be some players that are not going to be wearing pink and black next year. Somebody had mentioned in the chat, and I don't know if it was Mr. Krabs or someone else, said Robert Taylor to Philadelphia incoming. And I was also thinking Robert Taylor would be like a really great fit for Cincinnati as well, especially considering that Yedlin plays for Cincinnati, which, by the way, Justin, the last game that you guys had, Yedlin was all over the place. So I want to get to that. I want to get to that, but before I get to that, Todd, would you want a Robert Taylor on Philadelphia?
It goes against the MO that Ernst Tanner wants the club to go with. So it doesn't matter what we want. I mean, Ernst Tanner clearly wants to go with a younger squad. So
Yeah. So you guys are gonna have a bunch of high schoolers playing.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have Kevin Sullivan soon. I mean,
yeah.
that guy's like what, 12?
Yeah.
Todd, you might be looking for a certain Kevin Kelsey too.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Your boy Ernst can't keep his mouth shut in public. So
Just don't touch Max Arfston and you're fine. Everything's fine.
I don't know. I think I might have to just move out to Columbus and join Ty and the other two beat reporters in the press box. And
it's a good idea.
Honestly, yes, please.
That's actually a good idea. They need some life up there. Ty's like on an island.
Please. I'm the out of us three, I'm the longest tenured beat reporter there.
Yeah, I feel like I forget the name of the paper there, but you guys have went through, I feel like 3 or 4 different writers for the club. It's
Columbus
so
Dispatch, yeah.
Wow, my goodness. Now, Justin, would you guys take a Robert Taylor? And like, was DeAndre Yedlin playing out of his mind last game, or is my mind playing tricks on me?
No, I think Yedlin, I mean, it was about as experienced as a person can come with MLS matches. So I think that that was just what I expected from somebody like that. He's an absolute brilliant player for us. He's had his peaks and valleys. This system's kind of hard, but Robert Taylor, man, you're like 5 months too late on that one.
Well, I know. I remember we talked about this.
Oh,
we talked about this.
God,
I remember we didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah, I would have taken him right then. But when Matt Miazga went down, there goes that. Like, so we'll say it now because it's not going to happen, obviously. But back in the summer, there was a rumored trade deal between Cincinnati, and there was good resourcing on this, saying that Miles Robinson was in the works to go to Miami for Avalos and Robert Taylor. And unfortunately, Matt Miazga went down. That thing just completely flattened out, and we needed Miles Robinson. It just so happened.
Now, Todd, I guess I'll end it with you in terms of like the whole perspective about Inter Miami and Tata Martino. What do you think? I guess, and what do you think is, I guess, the fair thing to say? Did Tata kind of screw the pooch here, or it's not that serious, and next year he'll be fine?
Yeah, Mr. Krabs said that nobody can name a replacement for Tata. For the people that are Tata out, Pep Guardiola. Lost is with City. He's never had it. He's gonna leave.
Print it.
That club's in shambles. Pep to into Miami. Heard it first on the show.
Print it.
Well, and we were on the show yesterday with another. We were on the show with another podcast here, the Inter Miami show. I think his name was sprinkled out there. It's funny because everybody that typically does coach speak in terms of, this guy's out, this guy out, that guy out. Nobody typically ever has an equal or very close replacement, right? Yeah, go ahead, Justin.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of one of the things that I hate in terms of just like sports analysis. When people start talking about like coaches in, coaches out, it's very tough to do that because, like, where are you going to find someone that can be able to coach a Messi, a Busquets, a Suarez, and Alba? So we're not talking about like people like Jim Curtin is a fucking genius, but like Jim Curtin's not going to be able to wrangle together Messi and Suarez. Are you kidding me? There's no way.
Tata did it.
Well, I mean, but Tata is a personality himself. Like he's done it with them in the past. Like, I can't find another example, especially in the MLS, that has been able to manage personalities like that. I mean, even if you look elsewhere around the world,
Higuain.
yeah, he did, but like Higuain was like clearly playing like garbage. So like there's no way that he was going to be able to argue himself out of there. It wasn't until Pozuelo came in here that he looked somewhat decent or even better. And we're talking about a player that said he was going to smoke cigars and beat teams, hand over fist. So I don't know. I think it's a little bit of a weird place to be in. Like Messi played out of his fucking mind. So it's easy for Tata to get some of like the recognition. I don't know. There's been sort of a hot and cold thing. I think a week or two from now, the fan base is going to be a little bit more calmer. And then they'll be able to kind of look at this a little bit without overly drastically thinking for things, Go ahead, Justin.
I tell you who's had the experience of dealing with superstar personalities. Call Bob Bradley.
Yes.
Well,
yeah,
Bob Bradley.
He's won MLS Cup. Come on.
Make it happen.
That's what you guys are looking for.
Yeah, that's fair.
There, Justin.
He did it. He did such a great job with Insigne and Bernardeschi. I think he should get it round 2 here.
Yeah, it's gonna be awful. I mean, I think that this whole talk about Tata in, Tata out, it's worthless because he's still gonna coach next year. So too bad, so sad. Everybody's gonna have to eat a bag for another year, whether you like him or not. So
It's on
yeah.
Dr. Seuss. Dr.
Yeah.
Seuss
Yeah, right. Go ahead, Todd.
I said, get Fridge Guy to coach.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I mean, if we could find him, I've scoured the internet for Fridge Guy. Like, legitimately went on like a 5-week like search on Twitter to see if someone was to claim that role that day, and no one. And I wish that someone can be able to introduce us to Fridge Guy because I need to speak to him. I need to interview that man. It's like one of the top 5 interviews I need to do before I die. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about the 2 things first. One, before we end the show, ketchup on hash browns. Are you kidding me?
You're out of your depth, man. If you've never once just added ketchup to those hash browns, like it's kind of the lazy man's way. Some people prefer the taste, but like it's got to have something, man.
Well, which hash browns are we talking? We're talking like the hash browns you get from McDonald's, or are we talking like the shredded hash browns?
No, like let's do shredded hash browns. Let's do, yeah, I know, but like let's do Waffle House. You go to Waffle House, you're gonna get just generic hash browns, and then you're just gonna put your Heinz ketchup on it.
Yeah.
But you can get them scattered and smothered. You can get literally a bunch of other things.
And I do. I normally get them peppered and diced, so tomatoes and jalapenos for those that never go there. But
so you do that, and then additionally add
no.
Okay,
It depends on where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm just trying to get in and out of Waffle House, like I'm gonna put a little bit of ketchup on that, or I'm not like making tomato soup with freaking hash browns in it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Todd, are you a ketchup and hash browns guy?
Dude, I'm picky as hell. Don't ask me anything about food. I mean, look at
Okay.
me. Look at me. All 155 soaking wet. Don't ask me about.
I mean, Ty, I know that you mentioned that you also believe it's unacceptable to be putting ketchup on hash browns because
I do. I said that or hot sauce.
Well, yes, but you see, like hot sauce, you can get away with the hot sauce.
Yeah,
I don't mind that. That adds a little bang to it. I feel like the thing is, it's weird because like as a Hispanic, I've grown up in a way where like my mother told me, don't ever put ketchup on food when you go to someone's house because that makes it seem like if you're taking away the taste of the flavor that they put in. So like I've always grown up in a way where it's like, don't ever put ketchup on anything. Until I went to Chicago and they told me that I can't put ketchup on hot dogs. I'll go out with a fucking 2 liter of fucking ketchup and pour that shit on a hot dog if I could.
But see, the thing is, Waffle House, they don't care because they're just there for the check. But you're also inclined to see a fight somehow, some way, right?
Yeah, I mean they're in between smoke breaks, man. That's how that place operates. No.
Meanwhile,
You're not
Les is in there
appealing to
fighting
anybody
somebody.
there.
Meanwhile, Les is over there fighting somebody, catching chairs and shit.
No, let me tell you something. Danny here says Waffle House is the absolute worst establishment in the world. Him and I couldn't see any further on this argument.
Didn't
Waffle
he say
House,
he never eats there? How's he to characterize them?
he has eaten there. It's just that he doesn't like the fact that it's such a pressurized area where like you have to get in and get out, and that there's people literally waiting, lined up on a bench, waiting for you to exit this
Well,
establishment.
he goes at the wrong time then.
Yeah.
Well,
That's like the church crowd or
He's-
like the
Yeah.
2:30 crowd.
he doesn't like that people stare at him while they eat. And Ty, who was on Scarves and Spikes with him, said, "I'd love that. I would look at them and eat slower on purpose." Which I would have to wholeheartedly agree. I think I would do the same exact thing.
I would too.
Absolutely.
I'd probably order more just to piss him off, or just sit there on my
Yes.
phone.
Now,
Sit there-
question
Uh-huh.
question for you, connoisseurs of Waffle House. Do you ever pop anything in the jukebox? Do you like grab
No,
the
I've
hogs
never.
when you're at Waffle House?
Never. I've
Come
never
on,
done
man.
that.
Nah.
You
I've
don't
done that
put,
at
like,
pool
flats
halls.
on?
I always went at 2:30 in the morning. It's just me and poor Jimmy back there cooking the waffles for like two people.
I'll tell you, man, that would be like our cutting class, like we were the cool kids, right? Like we get to skip school, go to Waffle House. That's pretty much it. We play video games the rest of the day, but like the
Nice.
Waffle House was the experience.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, look, there's one thing more that I have to talk about, and this is sort of a little controversial, I guess, just depending. And I don't want you guys, I want to ask you guys a question. I'm going to start with you, Justin. What is this?
It's a pecan pie.
How do you, what is that, Ty?
Pecan pie.
And what about you, Todd? What is that?
Pecan pie.
Look at how you and Justin say pecan, and Ty said pecan. I couldn't believe that. And I just noticed because I asked Danny, how do you say pecan pie? And he spelled it pecan. So like,
Pecan?
what's the real pronunciation here? Is it pecan pie or is it pecan pie?
As a person that was raised by people from Southeast Kentucky, I'm gonna go with Todd on this one. Todd's probably right.
Pecan pie. Well, you're right too. You said pecan pie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. I wanted him like far away from the mountains. You're usually more correct.
Yes. I mean, look, what soccer saying peacock pie? What in the world?
Peacock pie. There you go.
I mean, I hope that Soccer Daddy meant to put pecan pie, but what Chris would lose his mind if he ran into another Chris at Waffle House. What, Danny? Are you drunk? Are you drunk right now? This is what? And then the tank says pea in a can pie. Get out of here, man.
I feel like that's kind of a same argument as if you call a fizzy drink a pop or soda.
I was going to ask you guys, is it soda or
Oh
pop?
yeah.
It's pop.
It's Coke.
No, it's not. It's absolutely
It
not.
doesn't, doesn't matter what
pop.
it is. It's
No, it's
Coke.
pop.
Whatever
Listen,
it is,
you know,
it's
hold
Coke.
on. Listen, I'm sorry, Ty, but I gotta mute you. There's no way I'm gonna allow you to get away with that. There is no such thing as pop. Let's get out of the 60s, buddy. There's no way that I'm gonna allow you to keep saying pop as a refreshment beverage that is sparkling soda. There's no way. I'm gonna remove the mute for a second, just for a second. But the moment I hear pop, it's literally snapping back on. I can promise you that right now.
That's
Okay.
crazy. When you have a can and you do that, what sound does it make?
Yeah, but they weren't always in cans. That's the
Yeah, they
thing.
were in
They were
bottles.
in bottles,
It's
bro.
popping noise. It's
Oh.
pop.
But what about but when they first came out, weren't they in glass bottles?
You can pop the cap off.
Oh no, you're done.
Soda
That's
pop.
it.
Oh no.
That's it. I turned them off. It's done. It's the what? And then Tank saying sody pop? What?
Get him out of here.
What? Get out. You know
Worse than
what,
what
Tank?
I just said.
I'm gonna
Sody
block
pub.
you. I'm gonna block you for sure, man. All right, guys.
But
Let's
we all
wrap this
can
up.
we can
Uh-huh.
agree it's Coke, right? No matter what, it could be Sprite, it could be root beer. It's Coke.
I
That's how you define a fizzy drink, as you put it.
wait, hold on. Do you really call it a fizzy? You don't call it a fizzy drink,
I
right,
call it
Justin?
Coke.
Okay,
Coke.
Coke. Okay, all right.
Doesn't
Now
matter
I
what
call
it is. It could be
I-
any
any sort
anything
of
that's
soda,
carbonated. Yeah.
Soda, right?
any soda.
It's an Ohio thing, man. It's Ohio.
It's a
Get rid of that
Midwest
state.
thing.
Useless.
I mean, I typically identify the soda as it's soda. Like if it's Sprite, it's Sprite.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I don't
Root beer, root
identify
beer.
the root beer, correct. I'm not gonna say Coke for Sprite.
No,
There's
if
kids
you
that do that.
where I'm from, if you ask somebody, okay, like say, what would you like to drink? I'll take a Coke. All I got is Sprite. Yeah, I'll take it. No, it's not. There's no distinction. Like Coke, Coke is everything. Everything that has carbonation is Coke.
Danny with a comment here saying, let's not call them cars. Let's call them brooms.
I like that. I like that. Ty, thoughts?
he's
Although that's
throwing
all-
shit at you, Ty, because of the whole pop thing. You know what, Ty? Forget it. I'm muting you one more time. Okay. I just had to do it because of the whole pop, and then now you got Danny saying broom. I'm gonna block Danny real quick. Hold on. So while I block Danny, let's go ahead and wrap this show up. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Let's let everybody know where you guys where everybody can be able to find your stuff. Justin, starting off with you, buddy. Thank you so much for being on the show with us. Where can everybody find you and all the goods you got?
Yeah, you could see follow all the great guys and gals at Cincy Soccer Talk on any of their social medias or CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We do 3 podcasts a week. We do tons of articles, content covering FC Cincinnati, and hopefully branching out to lower division teams like our Cincinnati Sirens. So check us out sometime.
Awesome. Yeah, no, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. I love that. And there's actually a Fort Lauderdale United team. The guys that we had on yesterday, Inter Miami show, I believe that they're doing a podcast covering them. I think it's super interesting to sort of, branch out to that kind of stuff. Ty, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you as long as you don't start talking about pop. Okay. Ty, thank you so much for being playful and hanging out with us. Where can everybody be able to find your stuff?
Yeah, if you guys like to read, you guys can find more work over at massivereport.com. If you guys want to, you guys can follow me on Twitter at FisherTyler__. And yeah, just give me a shout there. Roast me in my mentions if you want.
Yeah, roast him and tell him, like, how can you, like, dude, that is a phrase from like the 50s. Like, people in the 50s, like, I mean, people like in Chicago were saying stuff like, nah, Shane, like, let me get a pop, Shane. Like, that's what it was. That's how people were talking back in the day. And you guys 90 years later, 70 years later are still talking about pop. Like, what's happening with that? That's awful.
This is a complete sidebar, but I'm definitely doing away days with Chris in Chicago sometime. The amount of
absolutely.
he gives Chicago, like, I have to be there.
Be ready to fight though, because like I am 1,000% willing to get into a fist fight with a person from Chicago if they tell me that I can't put ketchup on my hot dog.
I'll record.
Okay, good. As long as you're there to record. Todd, the God, let everybody know where they can be able to find your stuff at.
Yeah, you can follow the podcast on social media at Free Kick Pod. If you want to follow me personally, it's a Todd's Life on Twitter. It's a Todd's Life _ on Instagram. Wherever you get your podcasts of the Free Kick, and check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Free Kick Pod, where I do goals breakdown videos, where I do live shows, where I do whatever else you guys want in there. And then Substack, thefreekick.substack.com, where I do writing, post a podcast on there as well, and then goals breakdown video. So I got you guys covered. If you guys don't want to go to Apple, Spotify, YouTube to get podcasts, you can go to the website. So as always, thank you, Chris, for being here, and you always provide the best shows. So I hope you continue to host when you have the three of us on, and no Danny, because you are who makes the show, not the chat, not us, you, Chris. So thank you so much, Chris.
I
Chris
appreciate
gets
it,
MVP,
Todd.
man.
I try my best. I'm not as organized as Danny. And Danny, listen, to be frank, he doesn't like Waffle House. I've known him for many years. He doesn't like bacon, right? He doesn't eat bacon, so that already makes him like double weird. He doesn't like shrimp. Last time I checked, that makes him like triple weird. I mean, he's just a
Doesn't
weird
drink-
individual.
He doesn't drink his cereal milk.
No, he doesn't. He drinks hot
Dumps
water,
it out.
Doesn't he drink like room temperature water also?
room temperature water. Like I don't even know.
like room temp water.
Yeah, but you can get, look, there's people that you guys can get away with a couple flaws, but Danny is a walking AI. He is literally AI generated. I don't even know if I like, huh?
He's a test dummy.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not like a real human being, I think. So
How can you be friends
and
with somebody like that?
yeah, I don't know, dude. Like listen, this guy is a disaster. And I'm Chris Duran from the Battered Herons podcast. You can catch us on Battered Herons and check us out online at batterfans.com, where you can be able to use this code right here, ho 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 24, and you can be able to get 20% off, I believe. Double check that with Danny. Don't hold me to it, allegedly, off of any Battered merch. So go ahead and check that online. If you don't get 20% and it's 10%, I'm sorry, I didn't sign a contract and I said allegedly. Go ahead, Ty.
Really quick, off topic. If anybody likes a short film, I have a short film coming out Saturday night on my YouTube channel. I'll send you guys a link if you want.
Absolutely.
Nice. Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Let us know. We'll post it. All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Ty, Justin, and Todd. It's much appreciated. You guys are a fucking blast. And for those of you that are listening on audio, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on Napster, iTunes, whatever it is that you use to download and listen to us audioly. Put a comment there and say, Danny, you suck. Go live in a Waffle House or something. Maybe that's too much to write, but whatever. And for those of you that are in the chat, guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and eating shit and really having fun with us. And look, Danny confirmed it here, 20% off with promo code ho 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 24. Maybe I shouldn't say it like that. Ho 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 24. Okay, guys, go get your shirts, go get your pants, go get your underwears, whatever you need to get there. Chat, you guys are the fucking best. Along with the three guests that I had on this show, you guys are the fucking best. And everybody, until the next one, have a good one, my friends.